Good day, dear viewers at home. Welcome to Home Learning. My name is Mr. K. Lukhele, taking you through SGCSE English language. We are hoping that we're going to help each other, especially those who are going to write Form 5, and not forgetting those that are doing Form 4 in improving in their English language skills. One thing that I always emphasize when I'm in class and all to everyone else who's learning English as a student is the fact that we should remember all the time that English is not a subject, but English is a language. So as a language, English can only be acquired and not taught or learned. So it's a gradual process acquiring a language. So the best way to make sure that you are able to receive the language so that you are able to produce it is to always practice it. I've already stated that for you to be able to produce the language in terms of writing and also in terms of speaking, you need to first receive the language. So those are the key things that I want us to first maybe take a look at today as far as the language is concerned, just briefly, so that we know the context under which we're going to do or rather base our discussion today. All right. So the one thing that I'm talking about is the fact that for us to be able to learn English, we need to first receive it. How do we receive the English language? Here's how it is. Um, the language, as far as English is concerned, like I've already stated, that English is a language. So this is a language. So, as a language, the one thing that is important is that it's not easy to learn it, it's not easy to teach it. So, the one thing that we can do is to help students to acquire it. So, language is acquired. So, acquiring the language means that it is a gradual process. All right. So, acquiring the language, it means that it's a process. You cannot wake up one morning knowing the language. We cannot teach each other the language in just one lesson or in 1 year so that you are able to know it. No, you need to acquire it, which means that it's a step-by-step process. But however, can you have someone teach you everything in the English language? No, it's not possible. But you need to expose yourself to the language. That is the most key thing. Expose yourself to the language so that you're able to learn it in the process. You're able to acquire it in the process. You know, for our SGCSE examinations, the students, you are required, or rather, you are tested in 4 skills. And those 4 skills are like this. You are required to read. That's one skill. It's reading. You are tested whether you can read the language. And then also, having read the language, you need to be able to write it. And also, you are tested if you can listen to the language. And then finally, you are also tested whether you can speak the language. So this is key. All these 4 skills are important, and you need to prepare yourself from the beginning when you are in Form 4 until you get to Form 5, because you'll be tested on all 4 skills. Imagine that you are given a task in class as an examination, and then you have a paper, or rather a question paper, similar to this one. You have a question paper or a task that you have to fulfill that is similar to this one. What then do you do? What does it need you to do, in fact? Here is a question in front of us. It says, you are a salesperson for Zwide Motors. Write an article of 150 to 200 words persuading potential customers. I'll underline persuading potential customers. These are potential customers, they are not your customers, to buy. The key thing, you want them to buy the advertised car. There are certain words that we always refer to, that when you're given something like this, what is important is that when they mark the examination, they are going to talk about something which is called fulfilling the task. You need to be able to fulfill the task. What is the task in this case? Write an article. It's an article of 150 to 200 words, persuading. Key word, persuading potential customers. What is the task? The task is for you to persuade. Then how do you go about doing that? What is it that they are looking for as far as the language is concerned that shows that you are persuading? All right. In continuous writing, there's this thing that is always called a purpose. Identify the purpose. And that is fulfilling the task. What is the purpose of your writing? Having identified the purpose of your writing, the next step is to look at your audience. When you look at the audience, that is basically, these are the readers. Who is going to read the article? That's the important thing. Who's going to read the article? Then these two, the purpose and the audience, are going to determine what? The register. Register in this case, basically it means the language that you're going to use. And when you talk of the language can be formal or it can be casual or informal. So that's the important thing that we need to learn. It can be also be, okay, we'll say this is casual here. And once you have identified this, then you can go on writing the paper, because that is what they are looking for basically, especially this part called the register. That is the language that you're going to use, because by so doing you are able to fulfill the task. And the task in this case is that you need to do what? You write an article where you are persuading. All right, how do we persuade? How do we receive the language for us to be able to persuade? What are the words that you need to include, the phrases, everything that you need to include when you are writing that particular task? So this is just an example of a question that can be there that leads me to my lesson for today. Let's look at the following task, or rather discussion, so that we see how best do we receive the language, so that we are able to tackle questions such as this one. I want us to look at this advertorial. We do receive, we do meet such in our examination, probably exercise 1, especially in paper 1. So I want us to look at this, how it is written, so that when we look at it, we are able to receive the language that is used whenever you are called upon to persuade. All right. So the key thing in persuasion, it's that, maybe we're going to begin with that. In the first place, why persuade? What is the one thing that you want to achieve when you persuade someone? So persuasion is all about what? It's all about attracting people. When you persuade, the important thing is that we persuade because we want to convince. We persuade because we want to attract people. We attract their attention to whatever product that we are selling, whatever ideology or belief that we want them to believe in. All right? This is most popular and definitely needed whenever you're doing argumentative writing, because you need to persuade, you need to win someone over. So the important thing here is that you need to convince, you have to attract, and then also it's important that in your persuasion, you don't just convince, attract, or you also need to inform. You need to inform, because I cannot be interested or convinced without you giving me facts. All right? Give me facts, and those facts can be exaggerated. It's permissible because you want to convince the person. So you can use exaggeration in the process. It's perfectly permissible. All right. So in this case, we are looking at this one. Here is information. It's an advertorial about the country Swaziland. It says, "We love Swaziland." And let's look at the words that have been used that capture the reader's attention. All right, so, and those words that have been used are the words that we want to receive so that we're able to produce them. Should we be called upon to persuade, probably selling a product? We are taking something like that, just like the with reference rather to the question that I gave earlier on. Let's look at this one. It's about loving Swaziland. First of all, it's graphical. So the image is there, they capture the attention obviously. And then besides graphic images, because mainly in our purpose rather, we use words. We need to capture the attention, we need to persuade using what? Words, using language, not necessarily graphic pictures. But here, let's look at the language that has been used, the words. For example, they talk of the people of Swaziland. How are they? When you look at the people of Swaziland, they say that they are friendly, they are cheerful, they've got a great sense of humor. These are descriptive words that make the person who's probably doesn't know about Swaziland, is a potential tourist, just like in the question we are looking for potential customers. The potential tourist will look at the people of Swaziland and say, okay, they are friendly, cheerful, great sense of humor, then probably they are the right people. What about the flora? Wonderful indigenous shrubs. So here, they are telling us about what? They are telling us about shrubs. But these shrubs, in talking about them, they give us more information, they give us detail that these shrubs are not just there, but shrubs that are found there are wonderful. And more than being wonderful, they are also indigenous, which is something that is rare. And then there are also what? Wild flowers. So here we've got these words. We've got this word, which is one, the shrubs, and then we've got another one, the flowers. And what is in common with these words is that they are both nouns. So in telling us the information about Swaziland, shrubs and flowers are there. Imagine if just the writing was, the flora of Swaziland has got shrubs and trees and flowers. Is it capturing? Is it convincing? Is it attractive? No. But then these words that have been used, wonderful, indigenous, those ones, wonderful and indigenous, and also wild flowers, they make these flowers and shrubs to stand out from the rest. So they give us more information about what? About the nouns. All right, let's carry on. We come to the animals. From the big five to the little ones, all to be spotted in the country's many nature reserves. All right, so here we take many. Many gives us more detail about the nature reserves. It's not just one, but there's just many nature reserves, which means that it gives a variety, and the variety is important. We go to the birding. Birds, 493 species, some extremely rare. All right, they are not just rare. Could have said some are rare, but it says here some are extremely rare. What is the importance of this word here? Extremely. Why is it included? Remember, we want to persuade, In our persuasion, we want to convince the person, we want to attract the person, we want to inform them, we want to capture their attention. All right, we are selling a product here. So when we are selling a product, we need to use all these words that are going to capture the person's attention. Make it distinct, make it different, make it interesting. So hence the inclusion of the word extremely. And then we go on again. The rich tapestry of events that make Swaziland what it is today. That is the history. Okay, fine. We go we go on to a climate. Then as far as climate is concerned, it says from the misty mountains of the Highveld to the subtropical low-lying areas. That's the climate, how it is. But then here I'm captured by the use of the word misty mountains. Not just from the mountains or from the high mountains, because a mountain obviously it has to be higher than a low-lying area. But then it's a misty mountain. It includes more detail, and then why the inclusion of that detail. We're going to look at that later. Again, activities from adrenaline sports to fly fishing or relaxing round of golf. It's readily available. Culture, the colorful reed dance. Remember here we've got the noun, and the noun in this case that we're talking about is this one. It's okay here. Maybe going back a bit, we've got mountains as a noun, and then here we've got the reed dance. The reed dance is just a name of a dance. It's the name of an activity, cultural activity that happens in Swaziland. And then we also have Ingwala ceremony, which is another noun. Sipaka dance, it's a noun. Traditional dress, noun phrase. All those as nouns. But the one thing that I want us to look at is the fact that how have these words, these noun phrases, been made interesting? And what is the function? How does it differ? What difference does it make to include those words? These are the words that I'm talking about. Here, instead of just saying reed dance, they said it's a colorful reed dance. And then there's Ingwala ceremony, and then it's called what? A sacred Ingwala ceremony. The energetic what? Sipaka dancing. It's said it's energetic, not just come to Swaziland and then you will witness reed dance, Ingwala ceremony, Sipaka dance, and traditional dresses. No. But then there are certain words that have been used to prefix these noun phrases. Alright. Reed dance, Ingwala ceremony, energetic Sipaka dance, and then also what? We also have a unique traditional dress. All right. I think we've just done about enough examples of these words. Remember the words in blue, we said that they are all what? They are all nouns. Then let's look at the words that are there that have been used to tell us more information about the nouns. We can pick them out. We've got wildflowers, we've got wonderful indigenous shrubs, we've got extremely rare, we've got misty mountains, we've got colorful, sacred, energetic, and unique. We call all those words what? We call them adjectives because they tell us more about the nouns that have been used in this. We call them adjectives, and these adjectives are very, very important. So whenever we try to persuade someone, remember we need to set apart whatever product we are selling. In our case, in our example, we're selling a car. So whatever product that we are selling, let's use adjectives to give more detail about what? About the products, about the different things that are there or that are associated with the product. Alright, so the people here are said to be friendly, color, cheerful, great sense of humor. It gives us more details, which means that it sets apart the Swazis from the rest. The flora, it's wonderful and indigenous. Wildflowers, it sets apart from the rest. So we are saying here the adjectives, they give more detail. And this detail is very important because the detail creates a sense of uniqueness. It's a sense of uniqueness. So when something is unique, I'm bound to go for it because it sets it apart from the rest. So that sense of uniqueness, I'm attracted, I'm convinced by that. When it's different from the rest, then it means that I can always go for it. And that's by so doing, therefore, you have fulfilled the purpose by the use of adjectives. So in our effort to persuade, whenever we're called upon to persuade, we need to make sure that we attract, we convince by the use of what? Of language. And one way of doing it is to make sure that you don't just throw a noun there without prefixing it, or prefixing it with what? With an adjective that will give more detail, that is going to set that particular thing apart from the rest. So that is very, very important. All right, I need us to go to a further example of language in usage, where it shows how to attract, how to convince the audience. Let's look at this writing. Here we're going to identify the words that give us more meaning, that makes it even interesting about that information, the information that we're giving. Don't just put information out there that, okay, fine, we're selling this car, it's a 1996 model, it is white in color, but make it more interesting by choosing precise verbs, adjectives, and even adverbs. Let's look at this writing here. The many nature reserves throughout Swaziland protect a vast variety of animals, birds, and flora, from the magnificent Big Five to comical warthogs, gentle antelope, and many reptiles. Swaziland is home to virtually all the wild animals of Africa. Our bird life is second to none, with hundreds of species to thrill ornithologists. Okay, I like this one phrase here. It is second to none. We're going to look at it in detail. It is second to none, with hundreds of species to thrill ornithologists. All right, this is a new word. Ornithologist, what does it mean? This is a person who studies birds. Is called an ornithologist. And then you see, by reading such information, you get to understand words like this one. You get to get new words and know what they mean. Because if you don't know what they mean, it's easy. You go to your dictionary, you are at home, you are wherever. You go to your dictionary, you find out the meaning of the word, and then now you know that, okay, ornithologist is someone who is a person who studies birds. And then now you can be more precise. All right, in your writing. By so doing, you are receiving the language. You'll be able to produce it. You'll be able to refer to a person who studies birds as an ornithologist. All right. So while our varied indigenous trees and flora will fascinate any nature lover, the tour options within our nature reserves include a self-drive, sometimes with a mandatory guide, tours in the reserves, owned 4x4 vehicles, and guided horse, mountain biking, and walking trails. All are undertaken with deference to ecological issues and conservation. With the exception of desert and sea, every geographical feature of Africa's terrain is found within Swaziland. Magnificent mountain scenery with rivers, waterfalls, and gorges, unique rock formations, which are among the world's most ancient, all right, lush and fertile valleys, typical African bush. All these make up the unique beauty that is Swaziland. All right, I think we're going to end it here for now, and then we go back and look at those words that have been used here and see what detail, how important are they having been used in this one. All right, let me go back a bit. Second sentence. From the magnificent big five to comical warthogs, gentle antelope, and many reptiles, Swaziland is home to virtually all the wild animals of Africa. One thing that I want us to note here, it's the use of this prepositional phrase to begin a sentence so that we are able to make what? We are able to make a complex sentence. Remember, in our writing, we always say that teachers will tell you to vary your sentence structures, to vary your sentence length, to use compound, complex, and simple sentences altogether. But then it's kind of difficult at times, to write those complex sentences unless you've seen them in action. By reading, you can see that here, from the magnificent big five, this it's a prepositional phrase in all. So this one, then you can know that, okay, to write a complex sentence, I can begin with a prepositional phrase. And that in itself, it contributes to the language because it shows that you are proficient with the language, you have mastered it, you are able to use it. All right. So from the magnificent, but then my attention here, it's mainly on the use of the word magnificent. All right. And then what does it do? The word magnificent there. Here we've got magnificent big five, not just the big five. We know the big five, it's what? It's the big five animals. All right. So to comical warthogs. They're not just warthogs there because obviously many countries have got warthogs, but then when you're saying they are comical, you are creating a certain interest in the reader, and then would look forward to meeting these comical warthogs. How are they comical? Gentle antelopes. That's another word, adjective there. And many reptiles, not just one reptile, but then there are many reptiles, which means that there's a variety. All right. So obviously this person is now captured, would want to meet these animals and see that, okay, fine, you know what, if there are other animals out, if there are other countries out there that probably was looking forward to going to, or maybe debating on which one to go, when he sees such, will probably be captured. So even when you sell a product, you need to create some sense of what? Uniqueness. We've already stated that. Create a sense of uniqueness using what? Using language. All right. So these are things that give us that language that we need to use, because a teacher cannot tell you, can always teach you that the big five animals are referred to as magnificent, and warthogs can be comical, and also antelopes can be gentle. It is you, when you read a lot, you're going to meet such, and then you'll be able to acquire the language bit by bit, receive it, so that you're able to produce it. All right. We talked of words like ornithologist, so now you know what an ornithologist is, rather. So that is an ornithologist. I beg your pardon. So these words are very, very important for you to acquire so that you are able to use them. All right. Now, I do hope that you've seen them. That is when you talk about unique rock formations, when you talk about most ancient, it means that it's something that is rare. Fertile valleys, you've got unique beauty, that is Swaziland. So obviously you're trying to appeal to the reader right there. All right. And then now I want us to move on. Let's now see maybe one more advertorial. This one, that's from Gwenya class, tells us about that. We'll begin right from the caption, because one important thing that we always should know, and I think that we know that teachers always talk about, is the fact that you need to always make your writing, or whatever article that you're going to write, it needs to have a interesting caption. That is a title. The title should be interesting. It's a title and not a topic. So the title should be interesting. And because it needs to begin from the title, that is to capture you. Look at this one. It talks about Ngwenya class. It says Swaziland's hottest tourist attraction, the one-stop visitors paradise. Look at the effect of these words. One-stop visitors paradise And also look at the use of this word, the fact that they are bold enough, they show that they are sure about that it is Swaziland's hottest. So that's a capturing what? It's a capturing title. It captures you. So that is very important. Whenever that you write, you begin from the title. The title needs to be very much captivating and also attractive to the reader out there. Because the most important thing that you should know is that in your mind as a student, whenever you are called upon to write, you don't need to have the teacher in mind. Have the reader. Have the purpose. Why are you writing? What is it that you want to attain, to achieve in your writing, with your writing? And then make sure that when you write, you keep asking yourself that, am I doing that? Am I fulfilling the task? Am I fulfilling the purpose of my writing? If you write to persuade, are you persuading? If you write to advise, is it an advice that you're giving? Do you have the words, the enough vocabulary that is going to help you in expressing yourself, help you in advising, or also in persuading, in convincing the reader? Have the reader in mind and not the teacher in mind. All right. So here, let's look at this one. Ngwenya Class Complex, Swaziland. Ngwenya Class Charming Complex is set in large indigenous gardens and is considered one of Swaziland's major tourist attractions. We still have those. It is set where in large indigenous gardens. All right. And then also is considered one of Swaziland's major tourist attractions, which already it sets it apart. Why do people go there? They'll ask themselves that, okay, if people go there, if it's a major tourist attraction, it means that there's something about this area or rather this place that it's worth seeing. All right. Also, let's look at the writing again. The complex is a hub of unique. We've got those words. It's a hub. We know a hub is a central point. It's like everything meets there. It's a major connector. All right. It's a hub of unique boutique shops, showcasing a superb selection of Swaziland's finest handcrafts available at one venue. So all these underlined words here are adjectives that we are mainly talking about in this lesson. And we see them in action, we see them in use. Imagine the writing if it was just the complex is a hub of boutique shops showcasing a selection of Swaziland's handicrafts available at one venue. Well, it wouldn't have that power that it has now that we've included the adjectives. Let's continue. Witness firsthand the magical and ancient art of glass blowing. It's magical, it's ancient, already it's attractive. And you witness this from an overhead balcony, each piece handmade from 100% recycled glass. Each piece handmade from 100% recycled glass. Not just each piece is made from glass, but it's 100% recycled glass. That is appealing to the reader, of course. And then we go to the next one. Relax in the sunny coffee shop. You wouldn't worry about cold. It's a sunny coffee shop overlooking the children's play park. Again, you're also giving information. Remember we said that even when you're persuade, you have to give facts, you have to give information. All right, but you give them in a different way by using these adjectives. And then also here the information that is being given is the fact that you already know that now there's what? There's children's play park. There's a children's play park there. So there's a coffee shop, and the coffee shop is it's not just information that is so mundane and that says, okay, well, you can relax, or we do have a coffee shop should you be thirsty. And at the coffee shop at the same time we also have a children's play park. But look at the use of language, of how that information has been given. Relax. So there's not just the word, that is whatever that is there, that is being talked about, the coffee shop, that is we are being told about the coffee shop, but we are also being told of the function of the coffee shop. One thing that you can do in the coffee shop is to relax. You give us in the same phrasing. And that shop, you are setting the description, spatial description, that this coffee shop is overlooking the children's play park. What effect does this have? Especially this word, the word overlooking there. This coffee shop is overlooking the children's play park. Why is it included? Because obviously it says to us, while you are relaxing in the coffee shop, you can also take care of your children playing in the park. You can be able to see them because this coffee shop is overlooking, which means that your children can go and play while you are having coffee there, and you have an eye on them. You know what is going on. All right. That's the writing itself. It gives us that idea. So it's important that you always scrutinize and see why that is included, and what function, what effect does it have on the writing. All right. So at the same time, we also want to look at, maybe, okay, we continue with this one. It says pre-booking for tour bus lunches is recommended. All facilities are wheelchair friendly, which again, this just gives us more information about the place. So obviously you'd want to go back. You'd want to visit this place after having seen all this that has been described, and they've not been just described in a mundane way, but you gave us more information about that, and then we've created an interest in the reader as far as that one is concerned. Okay, I want us now to go back to the question that we started with, and our purpose of looking at all that those advertorials that were there were to kind of look back at how you can enhance your writing skills, and how you can help yourself in receiving the correct register, the correct language that you can use for such questions in your writing. So we've seen, especially the use of adjectives, that adjectives make a lot of difference in your writing. They make a lot of difference as far as capturing your audience is concerned. So here in this case, you are looking at a scenario where the task was for you to persuade. That's what you're looking at. You want to persuade, because it says there, as a salesperson for Zwida Motors, write an article persuading potential customers. The word potential customers, it means that these customers aren't your customers yet. So your task is to win them over. You are persuading potential customers, and you want them to do what? The ultimate goal, you want them to buy. This is your task. This is your target. This is what you want. You are aiming at this thing. You want them to buy. So if you want someone to buy something, you cannot just say, well, I'm selling this car, come and buy it. You need to convince me as a potential customer. Remember, this is a competition. There's so many other cars out there. What makes your car different? What makes your car unique? What makes whatever product that you're selling different from that? Why should I come for your product? Why should I purchase your product? Why not go somewhere else? You have that in mind. And here, so make sure that you try by all means to convince the reader that this product is the best out there in the market. And of course, you cannot draw, you cannot probably show pictures, but the tool that you have is your pen and paper and language. And language is very, very important. That is one thing that you need to have. So imagine the problem that you'll have if you don't have the right vocabulary. This space that is given there, you'll find that it is just too much. And actually, it goes on. It goes beyond this one that is on the screen right now. You'd find that it's too much. You don't know how to utilize it. You don't know what to put in there because you lack the appropriate vocabulary to do that. Here, we are always told at school that when you look at this one, okay, that before you attempt any question, make sure that you identify what? You identify the three things that are very, very important. And those things we are talking about what? We said that you have to identify the purpose of your writing. Why do you have to write? All right. So that's one. Two, you need to identify your audience. Who are you writing to? Who are your readers? Who is your target audience? Who's going to read this? And what do you want them to do? And then these two will then determine what? The language that you're going to use. I called it the register. And this is the essential part. The essential parts here, it's this, fulfilling the task, and also language. Remember that there's always that information that is given there after the question that says you'll receive up to 7 marks for your content of your writing. What is there in the content? This is where these guys come in. These three guys here, they come in there in the content. And then also, you'll receive another 7 marks for the style and accuracy of your language. That is where we talk of the purpose. Is your language fulfilling the purpose? Is your language correct? Is it appropriate to what? To your purpose, which you said that is persuading. Does it convince the reader? Is it convincing enough to make the reader buy this product? That is what you need to first look at. And at the same time, the language obviously has to be relative to the audience. Are you using the correct language for the audience? Maybe let's look at this one closely. The purpose, we've already stated that this is the purpose here. That is persuading. You want to persuade the customers, so that's your purpose, persuading the customers. So that is what you're going to have there as the P. That is the purpose. You have the purpose there, and then you also, let's identify the audience. Who is the audience here? The audience is potential customers. Potential customers of a car. It's unlikely that it will be a 16-year-old. It is unlikely that it's going to be a 10-year-old. It is unlikely that it's even going to be a 20-year-old. You look also at the make of the car. The make of the car may be from ranging from the 25 years old to as far as maybe 67-year-olds. Those are customers that can buy a car. But in this case, you look at the make of your car. What type of car do you have? And who is likely to be attracted to this car? If you look at this picture, for example, not that you are compelled to use this picture, you can think of any car of your own. But when you look at this picture, if, say, you are to use this one, can you expect a 65-year-old to buy this car? Definitely not. So, in your writing already, when you look at this car, you'll start thinking of maybe a 30-year-old, 35-year-old, who is likely to be attracted to this car, and the activities and the habits of that person, what to do. So that is why you can use probably a word like you can take a spin, you see, because that is appropriate to the language. I mean, that is appropriate language to the target audience. You don't expect a 60-year-old to take a spin in a car. So use that language that is relevant to your audience. So in this case, potential customers are your audience. And like we've already stated, these are people that can buy cars. So obviously, you have to know what they will use the car for, what they can use the car for, give that information. If you're selling a car that's probably your target audience is someone who's 40 years old and upwards, then maybe you're selling a 4x4 vehicle or a bakkie, not a van, a bakkie. So you look at that, and then you look at, you want to appeal appeal to that. If it's a bakkie and you mention that it's a bakkie, obviously you're going to want to state what it can be used for. Why is it important for you to buy a bakkie? If I'm one person who has always been driving a sedan, not a private, but a sedan, that's the word we use. If I'm buying a sedan, then, okay, rather, I'm using a sedan now. Then you want to convince me to buy a double cab bakkie. Make me want to buy it and see the difference, how it's going to help me. Don't just mention the things, throw them out there that, okay, this is a bakkie, it's a 4x4, it can go in what terrain. But convince me that, you know what, the sedan, it's time for you to ditch it and go for the bakkie, because the bakkie can do this and this and this that the sedan cannot do. All right, so that is one way of doing it. You look at the potential customers and make sure that you want to convince. So these are things that you should consider before writing that, okay, in my planning, I need to talk about this, this, and that. All right. So here we said that the audience is the customer's potential ones, which means they are not already your customer, so you want them to come over. And then also the language. We've already stated about the language, that what kind of language do you have to use, and then which is where what we've been discussing since the lesson began comes in, the use of adjectives in your writing. All right, let's just give examples of what we can talk about then. We are given this one. We said that these guys are important. All three guys, these ones are important. Your article, there's this keyword, it says should, which means that this, it's compulsory. It's not a case of it, you may, but it says you should. This is an instruction. So therefore, this means that in writing your article, these three bullets should be there. You should write something about what? The name and model of the car. So this should be there. It's a must. You also, how much it costs, and also the advantages. When you look at this one closely, they're already helping you. You know, they're already helping you, because when you look at the name and model of the car, you're already given the information, the costs, the advantages. The advantages, obviously, when you state the advantages, you're automatically doing what? Convincing, because you're giving something that will make the person want to buy this car. The advantages of that. So already, somehow they've helped you with the language that, okay, you know what? If you do this, there's something that you're going to get for the language usage. So it's not a debate. It's not an option. It's not optional. It's not a case of I may not. Here you just have to use what? You just have to include all of that. Then most of us normally we say that or other students, you find that, well, we teach you as teachers, maybe in the classroom, that you can give probably you can get dedicated paragraph to each of the three bullets. Well, it's a good idea, of course, because it ensures that, one, you are able to paragraph. Maybe secondly, you are able to tackle all the points that are given. But it does not by any way restrict you to only this. When you include something, it means that you include it on top of another thing. So that is where you have to come in, because if you can just give this in bullet form and say, okay, the name of the car is a Mazda 323 or it's a Mazda CX-5, model of the car 2015, you go to the next one, the cost, it costs 230,000 emalangeni. The advantage is it's because it is smooth, it is comfortable, things like that. Do you think you're going to be able to fill in the page? You can be able to make the 150 to 200 words? Definitely not. So it means that this is that just to guide you. Yes, it is information that you need to include, but you also have to include your own information. And what is very, very key in this, it's probably this word, creativity. You are not just answering questions here. You're not just answering the name and the model of the car. You're not just answering what the cost is or what are the advantages. You need to be creative in telling us about this. Don't just be straightforward. Remember in our earlier discussion where we're told about the children's park, relax in a unique coffee shop, or no, rather in a sunny coffee shop that is overlooking the children's play park. You know, we are being told of two details of information, but in a creative way. They didn't just tell us that there's also a coffee shop which is maybe in the sun, exposed to the sun. There's also a children's play park. No, but then we are being told in a very creative way, do the same. Try to be creative in giving us the information, not just to say, okay, the name of the car is a Mazda or it's a Toyota, and it costs so much. You won't have any other thing to probably write when you talk. I mean, when you put it probably in that manner. So probably let's look briefly at what information would we want to include, maybe in our creativity here. First, we are told about the name and the model of the car. So, do we think it's going to be appropriate to just begin the paragraph and say, maybe the introduction, and say, the name of the car that is being sold at Zwide Motors? No. Probably some have seen those that probably have written come to Zwide Motors. Come to Zwide Motors for our new car. And then I'm thinking, well, I have to come to Zwide Motors for their new car. And then you write, the name of the car is a Mazda CX-5. And or rather, let me do it correctly that one. And costs $300,000. That is 300,000 Samalangeni. And then you think that you have covered these two bullets there. It's so mundane. It's so straightforward and unattractive. It is just too straightforward and also unattractive. So it's important to try and improve on this one and make it probably more appealing to the reader. It's a pity we can't just maybe write a proper paragraph in this one on how we can include that one, but maybe we can look at the words or the details that you might want to include in that one. Let's just remove that. So the name of the car, you can say that it's new, it is sleeky. Probably these are adjectives that you can use there in this one, because you are trying to capture. If you say it's new, not just a car, but then it's it's sleeky, and then it may be a powerful car. Well, it's also fine to say it's sexy. We did say that would you use exaggeration in this case. So you can say it's a sexy car, and then at the same time, why not call them wheel? Why not call the car wheels? At the same time, to capture one's attention, in your introduction, probably you can use a rhetorical question. Okay, maybe not a rhetorical question, but you can use a question. So, because in that case, you're trying to personalize. Are you looking for a new sexy car, or a new powerful engine car? Or are you tired of your small sedan? Well, look no further, because Zwide Car Motors is here presenting to you the new, all-powerful 4x4, whatever car it is. So by so doing, you are capturing the attention, obviously. Not just to go straight off the car. At Zuda Motors, we've got a new car that is what. No. Find different way of introducing that, of capturing, because that's the key thing. Right from the beginning, you need to capture the attention of the reader. You can't delay that until probably the end, because probably the reader will not even get there, because the beginning was not so captivating, was not so interesting. Make it interesting right from the start. We said that from the title, and also even in the introduction, you can do that. So these are some of the words that you can use, and then also you get to the, maybe this one is the appearance, and then when you look at the interior of the car, again, you need to have words that you can use, adjectives, precise, powerful adjectives that you can use to describe the interior of the car. So you can have, okay, fine. One thing, it can be comfortable seats, not chairs. It's comfortable seats. So you can have these comfortable seats. And then also, you can have you call it a luxurious. Let me get on that one right. So we can have a luxurious interior, or whatever. It could be the dashboard or the display, or a fancy display that has got probably gesture control and sleek, whatever, or so many words that you can use in trying to describe the interior of the car, and also the beauty that is there, and also the handling of the steering wheel. You don't necessarily need to be an engineer or what, someone who's a specialist in motor vehicles. No, you can just use those adjectives that you know, that you feel they can be appealing to the reader. Maybe finally, let me look at the cost. You are talking about the cost of the car, which is maybe the next bullet there. The cost of the car, you cannot just say it's cheap. You do have adjectives like at an amazing price, or unbelievable price of, or unbelievable amount of this much. So these are words that you can use, that you need to know. You can use words such as incredible, at an incredible price of. Don't just say, come and get the car for a whooping, because that is a turn off, of course. So give us these words when you talk about the cost. And then also we do have the advantages. Again, you're going to use so many, or rather so much of the adjectives, which are going to help you obviously in writing a convincing, interesting paragraph or article that will make the reader want to buy the car, that will make the reader feel persuaded, such that he becomes convinced. Because you have used what? You have used language to achieve this. And that's the importance of acquiring language, so that you are able to produce it. And this is just an example of the questions where you will be called upon to produce such language. And then not only adjectives are used in persuading, but you can also use adjectives in whatever writing that there is, even narrative, when you give us precise descriptions of certain characters, and also how they also maybe performed a certain action. So which that taps onto the use of adverbs, which I believe that it's one of the topics that we're going to tackle in our future lessons. I think that's it for now. That's it for our lesson. Thank you very much for watching, and may we meet again. Keep on.